Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio. The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
And welcome to the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. It is October 7th, 2015.
If you notice on the great board, I actually wrote it in red and with a K. Given Russia's position in the world today.
And how appropriate it is.
Yeah.
How appropriate. So much to talk about in the big, big world of craziness and chaos, not only home but abroad. And
mostly my home. I mean, because right now there's a lot going on in my home. For example, you're looking at me. Oh, you didn't mean my home.
Yeah.
Well, you said craziness, home, and abroad, so I didn't know, like, what you were talking about.
I mean, too, though, right? I mean, really, if you think about it, you know how many people out there listening, guys, were like, why are they talking
about me? Like, how do they know? It's about a home and abroad. Like, I don't understand this. Because that's the bane of every man's existence. And it rules the world. Go ahead, John. You were saying. It does, in fact,
rule the world.
Wars were fought and lost.
Oh, thank you, everyone all over the world, for joining us here. Make sure you check out the chat room at shrmedia.com. Click live chat on the right. And here we go.
Here we go. Like they weren't ready for it when they tuned in. Like, just in case you guys were wondering.
This is the show. I mean, yeah.
We're
as
actually
opposed to before, when it was
where we were kidding.
It was just pure crap.
Yeah.
But,
I don't know. Stop typing on your little keyboard. Stop chatting for a second and pay attention. We're in the General Jackassery segment.
Sergeant Tim, who's a new listener for us, but he's in our chat room, and I really enjoy having him there. But we're getting ready to do the show. We sit down, we're prepping, we have Gatorade and all this other stuff, and he puts in the chat room that he's going to run and grab a beer.
Where's ours?
Right.
You can't put that in the chat room.
I mean, you know we're alcoholics.
You know what? Hang on a second. Hang on a second.
Wait, that didn't come out right.
You called him a sergeant, right?
Yes.
So he's bragging. Come on. If the guy has his title in the name, he's bragging.
Good man. If you check out Sergeant Tim in our chat room, he does a lot for 9/11 survivors and 9/11 itself. Awesome guy. Great to have him around. This portion of the program...
Still bragging.
Still bragging a little bit. This portion of the program is brought to you by Pundit Press. And I only say that because the second best newsman in the business is in the chat room right now. So... I just want to make sure... Oh, wait. Weird stuff happening. Damn it, Sacco. I just want to make sure that everyone knows that this portion of the program is brought to you by Pundit Press.
Really? Why does Pundit Press have to bring us General Jackassery?
Well, because...
Why couldn't Brondo bring us General Jackassery?
Brondo?
Right? Pundit Press could have brought us something cool, like the next segment.
I know, but, Dan's in the chat room, and it's bad enough he's number 2, right?
Right.
In the world of news. I don't want to... if we give him a big segment, then he thinks he's number 1. And then it starts getting awkward, because I'll have to knock him back down a notch eventually.
Right.
And I don't like to do that. I mean, the poor guy at his age, frail and brittle. And I don't know, I'm not going to go too far with that. But, I don't want to hurt his feelings too much. It's never good to bring somebody way up and knock them way back down. So I just like to keep...
No, that is good. That's kind of how you run your personal life, too, which is... it's worked out great for you. What?
Yes. Yeah, that has been brilliant on my behalf, as a matter of fact. I should keep going with that. How could any of this fail? Big list of topics to talk about. So many I really want to get into,
but not yet. I do have to say the Russian bloc has been renamed the Eastern Bloc.
Yeah, which is appropriate.
That was officially renamed. So we are in October, as long as Russia is going to continue to dominate, and it'll be forever. The Russian bloc will be known as the Eastern Bloc now. I think that's an official change.
Well, that's good. I'm glad. I also feel, I'm starting to feel like a kid again when it comes to that, and here's why.
Okay.
Because the wall's going back up. So I'm actually feeling like it's like 1988 again. 87.
What wall's going back up?
Well, it might as well be.
Oh.
How are you, my friend, before we dive into the
topics? I'm stellar. I nailed it. I had a great week.
I'm glad.
Yeah, my week was just phenomenal.
You know what's funny is I really wish you wouldn't brag like you do when we get together. Because for those who don't know, Clint lives a life of luxury. Nothing ever goes wrong in this guy's life. If you want to talk about somebody walking around with the horseshoe jammed up as you know what, it's going to be my good friend off to the right, Clint.
But it got kicked there. That's the problem.
By an actual horse.
Right, known as life.
So, I'm just sick of you bragging every time we get together. Oh, this awesome thing happened to me. Hey, you know what's awesome? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So I had an interesting weekend.
Did you?
I went camping. Haven't gone camping in a long time. Took the family, headed out, went camping.
That would be interesting to see you camping.
Well, I mean, we don't like camp. Like, I'm not packing anything in. Those days are gone. Now, first of all,
no, that's not true. Listen, because we've had the discussion about how to makeshift a latrine with an e-tool and one cheek on the side.
That's if something happens. That's if I have to. If we're forced into the woods.
That's not true. When you were looking for Sacco that one time, you took a selfie and said, "Look at this. Did I do it right?"
Into the woods,
and I said.
To catch Sacco, I was forced into the woods.
You weren't forced there. We should have just let him drown in the big frozen lake. That's why we put that out there.
But anywho, and at the campground across from us, well, first of all, it was a little weird. The entire campground, it felt like, was full of Germans and Japanese. Now,
did you wear your back-to-back World War champs shirt with the American flag on it?
I'm not going to lie. And I actually talked
because that would have been amazing if you did.
I talked to one of the employees of the campground. They said, "No, this time of year, every year, it's just this is their vacation time."
It's a World War II reunion.
Right.
It's an Axis
reunion. That's immediately what I said. I was like, "Oh God."
We're like, "Where's the Italians?"
All these RVs are actually little tanks, right? And they're plotting.
Right.
Fortunately, I had Aussies a couple cabins down.
Right.
And they knew what was up because they kept giving me the wink, the head nods. We came up with code words like, "Sir, wear your pants and leave my beer alone."
Right.
But I knew they were on the same page.
And your wife is over here. I mean, just things like that.
Yeah, exactly. Things that are just normal.
Right.
But went down by Santa Cruz in California. It was a beautiful place. But I met a couple across the way who were over here for 4 weeks touring our country from Holland. Now, that alone is kind of cool. The fact that they'd give up their vacation for a year, jump in an RV, and tour our nation.
Right. And they make a great sauce. Their Hollandaise sauce is
only
perfect.
During the day.
Right. I haven't tried the night one.
Right. Don't even give it a shot. But listen to them tell us about our country was awesome because they really enjoyed it. They really loved it. They thought America was just amazing. It was his second trip, her first. The amount of history, of course, we started talking politics.
Did you get their number so that if you ever go over there,
I have it.
That's nice, and that was a legitimate question, not a smart-ass question.
No, I have it.
Because I've heard several stories where foreigners like that, they're very, very hospitable.
Well, and these folks were just beautiful people.
I mean, horror movies are made that way too, but I digress.
Right, other movies too, as a matter of fact.
No, absolutely. I know which one you're talking about specifically.
But one of the things that I found most interesting, the husband Mark and I talked politics a long time, and he knew more about our American history, the founders, and the actual American history, not the BS that's taught right now.
Right.
Our founding documents, Articles of Confederation, all these different things he knew about and understood. He understood our way of liberty, our way of life. They loved it. They thought it was great. And very conservative, which I thought was kind of cool, because you don't, when you think Europeans, what do you think of? Socialism, right? You don't think conservative values.
Douchebags.
Right. Exactly. And we had a long talk about how Europe is in trouble, especially with all the immigration things and the socialism aspect of it. He's an accountant and deals with money, so I'm sure that kind of forces him to be realistic.
He had to have an opinion on Greece.
Oh, yeah. He said there wasn't a saw big enough, but if there was, he'd cut it off. And Red Wealth of Nations. We talked about Australian economics, et cetera, which our good friend Chris Casey educated me on. But it was just really cool. The only thing, and I mentioned this to you earlier, the only thing that they couldn't get their mind around were the amount of guns in this country. And it wasn't, he specifically, it wasn't in a negative way. He understood the Second Amendment. He understood what it was for. He believed in it, said he owned a rifle at home. But it is so foreign to them that people would walk around armed that he's like, for me, it's ignorance. I just don't understand it versus, I don't disagree with it. I don't understand it. He's like, there are plenty in Europe who disagree with it even though they don't understand it. He's like, and I don't think it's fair to make an assumption without actual knowledge.
Let me ask you something. Did you place a gun in his hand, said, point it at that squirrel, pull the trigger, and now giggle like a schoolgirl because that's fun? Like,
well, no, he's gone shooting before. So he like
muzzleloader?
No, rifle.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
And enjoys it very much so. And like he said, we talked a long time, and
well, then who wouldn't want a gun? Why doesn't he understand that?
He understands the aspect of tyranny and fighting off a government, and he was 100% behind that. But he just couldn't understand why people would just walk down the street with one. And we had a long conversation. He was not at all
judgmental
or condescending.
Okay. So it was honest. It was an honest question,
absolutely
honest debate.
And he was actually, it was funny because at one point he was like, well, he knew a little bit about me, and he said, well, do you have a gun? And I said, yeah, right now it's under the seat of my truck. And he was like, it's cool. Like, he's like, and I don't even understand it, but it's cool to think that...
He high-fived you, threw a beer in your hand, and said, here's my wife.
And I said to him, I said, God forbid we were sitting here and somebody came up and started doing something animalistic and was trying to hurt people, our children, other people's children, whatever. I said, I would resolve that issue as quickly as humanly possible and protect life. And absolutely got it. Like, he's like, I get that part of it. He's like, and so... But it was just really cool to meet a conservative, and he was 100% conservative. Like, there was nothing that we varied opinion on, especially world politics, European politics, right. ISIS especially.
Right.
100% was on board with us, and he definitely knew more about our history than most Americans in this country today.
And that's sad, but I have a question for you, and here's what came to mind. If you had somebody doing some really bad stuff while you're camping, first of all, not a lot of people out there. Japanese and Germans, they don't count. Second of all, you have a campfire.
Uh-huh.
Third of all, you have alcohol.
Uh-huh.
Fourth of all, you have hot pokers, because I assume you're making some kind of s'more or other roasting type thing, hot dog, whatever.
Yes.
Why would you not make a flamethrower?
Well, and here's why. You know, I never travel anywhere without a couple different things, alcohol being one of them.
And that's what I'm saying. I mean, you have all of the means right there to
beer
make...
and bourbon specifically.
To make a flamethrower.
Now, beer will not ignite.
Okay, but
we know.
But you don't just maintain beer when you're camping, and I know this about
you. No, I
had
had bourbon.
Yeah.
I will not sacrifice the bourbon for something that I can do for, I think on average I get them for 76 cents around right now.
Pop-off vodka?
Nope.
Oh, no, not vodka, ammunition.
Ammunition.
Got it.
I wouldn't waste... that alcohol's not worth it. That's not worth it. I can take that monster down, whatever the problem would be, in 1 or 2 rounds.
But it's not as creative. Oh, and then you'd torch him.
Well, if he fell into the fire.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I would never advocate the burning of another person absent that. You're welcome. I'm not cruel. Time for Surprise Sean.
Oh, Surprise Sean.
By the way, I love that story. We talked about it during prep of the show, and I love that story.
It made me feel good.
Yeah, no, I really do. But here, Surprise Sean. So, Senator...
Why'd you roll your eyes when you said it?
Because European. Senator Harry Reid is suing the company that made the exercise band that kicked his ass.
No way! I love this! So let me get this straight. His drunken brother showed up and beat the hell out of him, and now, in order to cover that up even more, he's going to sue the exercise band company that he alleges caused the damage.
Yes, the Hygienic Corporation.
If that is not the liberal dream, I don't know what the hell is.
For $50,000.
No way.
Yes.
50 G's.
$50,000. Here's what the lawyers are saying. The device is defective, unreasonably dangerous, particularly for the elder who might have trouble gripping it.
He's talking about his brother again, right?
Yep. It's
Okay.
the band company. They're acknowledging negligence, or they're alleging negligence from the company.
Why?
Well, because there's liability, and the company failed to warn customers, quote, about the dangers that may result from the use or foreseeable misuse.
What an asshole!
But hang on a second. Here's what's interesting. They're quoting dangers that may result from the use or foreseeable misuse. So, obviously, Harry Reid was misusing the rubber bands?
No, more appropriately, his brother was misusing it when he was beating him with it.
I just picture this rubber band, this band, exercise band, sitting on the table, and like Harry Reid just like staring at it, and they're like staring at each other. Right, like it's just sitting there. Like a gun, right? It's just sitting there, and then Harry Reid's looking at it, and like the music starts,
and then his brother runs in and punches
and it's
him.
ominous. And then the exercise band, and then the brother runs in, drunk in stupor, punches him in the face, knocks him down, and then picks up the exercise band and like maybe slingshots it at him or something like that to cause injury with the band, and then runs out of the house or goes to an AA meeting.
He puts it around his neck and throws him around the house with it for a little bit. That's how he cracked the ribs, right?
And so, therefore, there's your foreseeable misuse.
If you really want to know what goes through liberal brains, here it is. So let's for a second say his drunken brother didn't kick his ass. I still believe that was the truth, but for the sake of argument, let's put it aside.
Okay.
It was an exercise band. Let's say he was exercising because, you know, you've seen Harry Reid, right? He's jacked.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, he clearly exercises all the time.
And I see him wrapped up in this band.
Like Goofy.
Yes.
On the
just like the band over his head, and he can't get out of it.
One foot stretched up by his ear.
Right, and every time he like pushes it out further enough, like it comes back and
hits him in the eye.
Like Three Amigos.
Yes.
You ever seen Three Amigos?
Yes.
Steve Martin's all tied up.
Who hasn't seen that? Yes.
Same thing. Like every time he gets just enough out, it snaps back and punches him in his face.
Yes.
Which, by the way, I would pay money if that really happened. The amount of money I would pay to see that video, crowdfund the movie. Exactly, Dave. Agador in the chat room. Let's crowdfund the movie. I love that idea. It's just the beating of Harry Reid, we'll call it. Because what did the Canadians do? Remember, like the death of George Bush and the assassination
Harry
of George
Reid kicks
Bush?
his own ass.
Right.
We'd have to call it something like that.
We call it Harry v. Harry.
Harry v. Harry. Harry v. Reid.
Here's the sad part. Some wingnut judge will probably side with him. He will make a cool $50,000 after all the money that he's stolen from the American people.
I hope it goes to a jury. I hope the company tells him to go piss himself, and I hope they fight it tooth and nail.
I wish, and I know this won't happen, but just for the sake of it,
I bet that company could get a defense fund together and people would donate to it, just so this prick doesn't win.
I think if they countersue and ask for the punishment to be that Harry Reid make this movie. That's my ultimate dream right now. We find against the plaintiff and for the defendant countersuit. We find in favor of the defendant. Mr. Reid production begins Monday. And just go from there. I think that would be outstanding.
Okay, so we actually need to get into topics, but that surprise Sean segment, I had to spring that one on you. Your reaction was about what I expected. It's pretty good. I have written down here movie prediction actually, which is
before we jump in though. You said something earlier. Agador said that would be an awesome name for a band, and I agree. You're talking about the band that said Foreseeable Misuse.
Uh-huh.
Wouldn't that be a great name for a rock band?
Foreseeable Misuse.
I think that would be awesome. Agador nails that stuff.
I think every 13-year-old boy should have that tattooed on his. Anyways, into our segments. What?
Big board of topics. What do we got?
The speakership race.
The speakership race heating
up. So there's 3 Republicans right now who are looking for the speakership.
Right.
And they are House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy.
Yes.
Jason Chaffetz.
Yep.
Which I actually like him.
I like Jason Chaffetz.
He's a Republican representative out of Utah, and Daniel Webster out of Florida.
Right, the highway in New Hampshire.
Huh?
Daniel Webster Highway. It's in New Hampshire.
Okay. Those are the 3. Everybody thinks McCarthy's the front runner, and I would probably agree with that. But it's weird. He's the front runner, yet he was in he was in Boehner's leadership team. But now McCarthy's trying.
I'm not.
Right.
I'm not John Boehner.
Now he's going around basically saying, "I'm not John Boehner. I'm going to run things differently. I'm my own man."
Right. I'm not John Boehner.
Really?
Technically, I'm not John Boehner. I have a different name. My own.
Yeah, that's true. He is
not John Boehner.
He's not lying, and he is in fact not John Boehner that we know of.
Bull.
That we know of.
Bull. Listen, he is not John Boehner. Literally, but he is John Boehner. He comes from the same cloth. He may be a little less rhino-istic. And you know what? Egg's got a great point in the chat room. He comes off as a prepackaged F-up, and I agree. I think because he is such a middle of the road, he thinks he can get it, and he thinks he can appease every single side. He wants the power. I don't think so. I like Chaffetz. I always have. I don't know if he'd be a good speaker. And
he may be able to speak.
Well, Speaker of the House.
Oh yeah, right.
But Daniel Webster is my sleeper pick.
And I tell you what, I loved his TV series in the early, in the mid '80s. What?
Wasn't he?
That wasn't him?
No, that was a different guy.
Different Webster?
Yeah.
Oh. So we're formed tonight. I'm
George
sorry.
Papadopoulos. Oh! Oh, Cal Fritzy had to make it racist in the chat room. Our good friend from Canada, you know, the sweet people.
Right.
Cal says, "Oh my God, isn't that the short black kid?"
Why does he have to be black?
Why
What
does
does
he have to be
race?
short?
What does race have to do with anything?
You know,
With the big ears.
what's the stuff against little people?
By the way, I want to give the Canadians major props.
Yes, and I saw the video.
Major
No,
props.
not that video. The other video that you took.
Yeah, no. And you've seen both, actually. I actually had the opportunity this weekend to see the snowbirds.
Yes, I believe it's pronounced snowbirds.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. So let me tell you what they're all about. They are... Sorry, I couldn't resist. They are Canada's military aerobatics team.
Yes.
And they are phenomenal. They put on a phenomenal show.
Yes.
They really did. I was very, very impressed. The announcers did an amazing job. It just...
Oh, here comes the airplane now. Oh, look at the spin.
He's about to rule it. Yeah, it was.
Boy, he's going 3, 4, 5, 800 kilometers.
See, I'm trying to be nice, and you're going to make me be a jerk because you know I can't help myself. Anyways, so no, they put on a heck of a show.
Look at all the loons it cost to buy that plane.
Jesus. Great job. They only put on, I think, like 15 shows in the U.S. A year, so I was very fortunate to catch one. If anybody has a chance to see him, it was awesome. Now, the Thunderbirds were also there. Here's what I wanted to see.
This is where your sickness comes out.
No. I have matchup. And my matchup for the week is Thunderbirds versus the Snowbirds dogfighting. I want to see both aerobatic teams just take off and have one big aerobatic dogfight. Almost like a dance-off.
A dance-off? We can play some music.
Right.
Footloose.
Right, just like one team of Jets comes screaming in and they do some stuff and then they fly off, and then the next team of Jets comes in and they do some stuff and
The Brits can fly in. They can be like the father, the old, like, pretentious, uptight father who doesn't allow the dancing.
Right, so they like fly in a straight line
I
and
see
then
where
leave.
you're going. Yeah, I see where you're going with this.
That's a brilliant idea.
It's a brilliant idea.
Thank you.
Our friends to the north, they can absolutely fly some planes. I saw the Snowbirds about 10 years ago. I'm sure
Okay.
you saw a much more updated show.
And aircraft.
In aircraft, maybe. It's Canada. They don't spend a lot of money on that
Yeah,
stuff.
that's true. Yeah, I think
But yeah,
spend a lot of money on that.
they don't spend a lot of loons on it, eh? But yeah, no, they do a hell of a show, and good for you. I mean, that's an opportunity you shouldn't miss whatsoever. Real quick on the speakership, you seen how that's kind of
That's kind of our topic. But listen. You said Canada. Somebody in the room made me think of it. I wanted to throw.
throw it out there real
I wanted to
quick.
throw it out there real quick. I really enjoyed the show.
I don't think Webster will actually come out of the closet when did he come out of the clock? The clock. He came out of the clock.
I got another matchup: Webster versus Arnold from Different Strokes.
Webster. Arnold was all talk. I think when it came down to throw down, he lived with a football player. When it came down to throw down, Webster was what's up, yo. So, denied. Oh!
Or Punky Brewster.
Punky,
Go.
take Punky. She had the way to throw around up top later in life. What? I'm not wrong. I think Webster would actually be the best choice out of the three so far. I don't think he'll get the vote.
He won't. I think Chaffetz has a better shot, but
I think Chaffetz is going to split it. I don't think Chaffetz would have a spot even if McCarthy was there. I think Chaffetz might end up splitting that vote out. I don't want to see that happen. Like I said, I like Jason Chaffetz. I think he does a damn good job, but I think Webster would be the far better choice. But maybe a couple more years. He just doesn't have the same clout. McCarthy has the name. He has, and sadly, that's all it's going to take.
I hope Kev, Jason, Dan can come together and work things out while they're
The old boys.
yeah. I hope they can work things out while they're in there working.
What's the number one priority of the newest speaker, in your opinion?
What do you mean? What's the number one priority? What should it be?
Yeah, what should it be? What's the first thing?
Blocking funding for either Obamacare or blocking the treaty. The Obama. It's not a freaking deal. It's a treaty. Read
Yeah.
the definition.
And I actually think the treaty's bigger at this point. We all know Obamacare is a problem, but that can be done. That can be done right afterwards. But this treaty's the biggest thing. Listen, I know how horrible Obamacare is for this country, but you have the potential of nukes being developed.
They're going to be developed anyways.
Right, but you have the potential of it being developed quicker. I think that's the priority. And as the
Defund the executive branch. What?
well, let's talk about what they really do.
You asked what I think,
I
not
know.
what I think they'd really do.
No,
what
what
I
they
think
really
they're going to do is go smoke cigars, drink with each other, slap each other on the ass.
Fund the executive.
Why not?
Wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't it? Just can you imagine the dumb look on Obama's face when they pass it?
Yeah.
And then at that point, the Senate might actually grow a pair.
Mr. President, we don't have power because there's no funds to pay the.
Literally nothing.
There's no funds to pay PG&E.
Literally nothing. I mean, just. We're not going to take the limo? No gas. Oh, what about the airplane? No gas. Can I get a cup of coffee? No coffee. This job sucks. Yeah, doesn't it now? Instead of just traveling around and doing nothing but costing other people money? Doesn't it just suck? Now you have to actually make decisions and do shit all presidential-like.
Yeah, now you have to submit paperwork to Congress if you want something paid for. You're taking a trip on Air Force One? Where do you want to go?
For what reason?
Yeah. You want to go? You want to go talk to Netanyahu? Oh yeah, we'll fund that.
Right.
Oh, you're going to the UN? Ooh.
You're going to go fundraise. Ooh. Which I always have, I still to this day, and I don't care which president it is, I always have an issue with fundraising while you're in office.
Yeah, you're not supposed to do it.
It's horrible to me.
Yeah, I don't think you're supposed to do it. We're up against a break.
Oh, already?
Yeah, when we come back, you're up with the Eastern Bloc.
I see what you did. Europe, Eastern Bloc. No,
You see that?
No, that was impressive.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
job.
you. I'm on fire tonight.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR. In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean,
Dude, I'm not saying calf for the stupid promo.
Sackhead Clint,
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on the Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Put down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life, the military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific from me, Tammy Jackson, on the 405media.com.
Who listens to the Andrea Kaye Show? Let's find out as we eavesdrop on listener Roger Johnson in Encinitas.
You know, if our policy is going to be bring any child who comes across the border and says we have to take them in.
Okay, so apparently Roger fell asleep in the middle of my brilliant political tirade, and now he plans to sue me because I put him on the air, sleeping. Obviously, he's a liberal.
Snoring, not an option while listening to the Andrea Kaye Show, Tuesday mornings at 11 on Financial News and Talk.
You know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here's Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Wow, and hold on, wait for it. Welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show. If I knew how to shut his mic off, folks,
It's the Chips theme song. Who doesn't like the Chips theme song?
Oh man!
So I was at my brother's house, and he plays like a '70s music channel or whatever, and the theme from SWAT came on.
Dude,
like on the satellite show. Na 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 na. Yeah. And I recognized it, which was bizarre.
That's such a great show. A couple people talking about Sacco in the chat room. Sacco's not going away permanently. He's going to join us for special events and stuff.
Yeah, you know, he's still a member of the Sackheads team.
Yeah.
He still owns 33% whether he likes it or not. I mean, that's just one of those things.
He was down and trying to get out. We actually have a constable going to his house to bring him to the meetings. Worth every dollar, ladies and gentlemen.
Constable.
So I just wanted to get that out.
Rise, Sir Sacco.
Of SHR. Thump. Arise, Sir Harry of Sackhead. Oh, Bugs Bunny never gets old, folks. The Eastern Bloc we're into. A lot happened. with Russia.
Sir Sasquatch of the internet.
Sir Sasquatch of internet radio. Oh, man.
Sir Beast of microphone.
Sir Beast of phone. So Russia, as we reported last week.
I'm sorry. I think that's great.
We should do that.
Sir Hair of Ball.
Sir Hair of Ball. Thump. God, I miss Sacco.
Where is he?
Dude, I almost brought a Chewbacca cutout just to put in his chair.
We need to. Why isn't he here? He hasn't moved yet.
This week. So a lot's happened in Syria with Russia. As everyone knows, Russia was in Syria to fight ISIS, allegedly.
No, it wasn't allegedly. They were there to fight ISIS-ish people.
And they
we did not say ISIS. We did say ISIS.
We said ISIS.
We said we would fight ISIS people.
I believe if you look, we said extremists. We didn't say who the extremists were.
And these people are ISIS. They are cold in how they view things. They are ISIS.
So
this
Russia begins its
what we said.
Russia begins its bombing runs.
Bomb.
They've also launched some cruise missiles from their ships that were in the ocean.
Like Tom Cruise?
Like
missiles?
Tom Cruise missiles.
Can I take anything seriously tonight?
No, you suck at this.
I suck
You're the worst radio host ever, dude.
Really? Then why do we sign autographs?
I don't know. Because you have a huge nose and people can't believe you can walk around without your head falling to the ground every 5 minutes. That's
amazing.
why. It's amazing. It defies gravity. It has its own orbits.
What is that, a sail? Tilt your head back. That's crazy.
The wind blows. He takes a hard right. But here's the problem.
Here's the problem. Like there's one.
There's a lot of problems in with Russia and Syria, but here's the problem right now. None of these attacks, these bombing runs, none of the cruise missiles, none of the ground support operatives, any of that stuff are operating where ISIS is a problem. They're only operating where
they're not operating in the Middle East?
Parts of Syria.
They're not operating in the world?
They're not operating where ISIS actually holds ground in Syria, which is what they say they're there to do. The Russian general name I can't pronounce came out and said, "Screw you." No, through the course of these bombing runs, the other thing that they're doing, on top of just targeting the Western-backed rebels who are fighting the Assad regime, they're also repeatedly crossing into Turkish airspace. So much so that Turks scrambled some fighters to intercept, and one of the Russian pilots had tone, missile lock, if you will, on the Turkish pilots for about 4 minutes. And it's been
He'd have fired by then. He was just trying to piss him off.
Oh, yeah, of course. But all Russia said was, this was a mistake. You get a great job quoting.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Top Gun reference right there. Nah, Goose, he'd have fired by now. He's just trying to piss us off. Come on with the Tom Cruise reference.
I know, but it was a short reference. He's a little man. He's just tiny.
There's a Scientology to making
He's like a little baby actor. You just want to pick him up.
Pick him up and throw
him. Russia claims the incursion into Turkish airspace was accidental. They're also making some claims that there are, in fact, ISIS
fighter jets.
ISIS fighter jets in Turkey. That there's some ISIS people, militants in those areas, even though all intelligence points to no. It's just the Syrian-backed rebels. I'm sorry, the Western.
But our intel's been watered down before, so
you never know.
The Russians may have better intel.
The Syrians used the air support and the missile strikes recently to launch a counteroffensive on the ground against the rebels or the Free Syrian Army, whatever you want to call it. It's starting to get dicier over there. Turkey is pretty much coming out and saying Russia's just doing nothing but trying to provoke us. Russia's not really there for the reason that they're there. You now have some American top brass military who confidentially is saying this without being named as well, that Russia's not... Listen, nobody thought that Russia was going to go in and play by the rules and everything like that, but the airspace incursion and the tone lock with Turkey, if it was flown from Russian soil, and they did it with a country that abutted them, and then you could argue, oh, this, that. They're in foreign soil, Syria, fighting on behalf of the Syrian government. Again, whether you agree or disagree, they have the right to be there. But now they're starting to cross the border with Turkey, who's been critical of the Assad regime, who's been critical about how they've handled this, the gassing of their own people, etc., etc. The Turks, as screwed up as they have been over the last few years, have been a tough opponent of Assad and a tough opponent of how he's handling things. And essentially has called for him to step down.
And there's no need for the Russian fighters to be over.
At all, whatsoever.
At all.
This isn't 1962 where, you know, they might be off a little bit on their gyroscope.
Right.
But, you know, with GPS, and these are their most advanced fighters out, they know exactly where the hell they are.
Also, there's been Russian fighter jets shadowing Predator U.S. drones.
Yes.
In the area also, and at first when it happened, the U.S. said, maybe they got lucky, and then it happened a couple more times.
That's not luck anymore,
That's
folks.
not luck. And they're really not stealth aircraft. I mean, is it really luck? Oh, maybe it just happened upon it, really?
No, they monitor it.
They were
also
monitoring it.
Reports of Russian anti-aircraft batteries being set up in Syria, which is kind of funny because neither ISIS nor the Free Syrian Army has aircraft.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
Turkey
weird.
does.
Turkey does. The Americans do.
Americans do.
A couple other people.
But it's just the batteries.
Right. Yes. Just a couple D cells on the ground.
I didn't even know those things were battery operated. That's weird.
That would be awesome if that was their defense. Because the Russians say batshit crazy stuff all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So if they come up, they're like, no, is just 5,000 D cells tipped together. It's just the battery. It's no problem.
It's literally a battery. Check your imagery if you have picture. It says Duracell. It actually is.
Agador, correct me. Obviously, if they're being used for anti-aircraft, then they would be AAAs, not D cells.
Right.
So that is 100%
Very good.
true. 100%
Very
true.
good.
I stand corrected. Let me ask you a few questions about this. First and foremost,
who are you talking to?
You.
Okay. Why are you looking at your shoulder?
I'll talk to him later.
Okay.
First and foremost,
12.
Russia and Turkey. Does this continue to escalate, or will the UN and or somebody else step in?
UN.
Tried. I tried. Where's this going to go? Because essentially the Turkish president, Gaya Nama, I know no Noah, which I think is his birth name, has already kind of hinted at NATO and said, yeah, you crossed the line. Well,
they did cross the line, right? They flew over the line.
Well, you blow something up, or I don't even know. At this point,
I wonder if the Turkish pilot lost it, turned in his wings. Somebody else is number one.
His name...
Cougar.
His name was Cougar. Look, it's only going to take one errant missile. Really, at this point, I believe.
But would it... I mean, they already shot down a civilian jetliner in Crimea, right? Or in the Ukraine. It was the Russians. Yeah, the Russian crew. Of course it was. And nothing happened.
Right, but that's not an attack on a country.
I don't think an errant missile...
That's not an attack on a NATO country.
I don't think an errant missile would do it. I don't think a Russian aircraft... The world is weak. Right, they are. The world is weak right now.
Right.
I don't think anybody's going to start World War III because a Russian fighter pilot shot down a Turkish fighter.
But I don't. In the NATO treaty, if
Turkey told us to go pound sand about the NATO treaty, said we weren't going to, right?
It doesn't matter. But they can still invoke it. They can tell us to pound sand about it, but if they invoke it, they're still full members of NATO.
They are, but
if they invoke it and turn around, we are obligated whether we want to or not if NATO activates against Russia in that
correct
area.
me if I'm wrong, because I could be remembering something screwed up. I've had a lot to drink the last few days. Didn't Turkey tell us when we were looking for a coalition or for help, tell us to go pound sand and say basically if we enacted, if we did invoke that they were not going to be of assistance?
Yes.
Okay, so we're not obligated. I mean, yes, we are because we take it. You and I would honor that. But this
I think it would be
administration,
honored.
I mean,
I think it would be honored. Migrants showing up.
they keep hitting the Kurds too.
Right, and they keep hitting the Kurds. They invoke NATO. They activate NATO. Call for.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they shoot them down. But just flying over targets, checking for ISIS locations, I don't think they'd screw with it because they're there supposedly for that. But if we started flying them over their bases or their camps, yeah, maybe. Yeah, they might shoot them down.
I predict.
What if Syria says, hey, U.S., you can't fly your drones over our airspace, and we're going to enforce it with the Russian jets?
Right.
Well, guess what? We're out then.
We're SOL.
Yeah.
We are SOL. I think the Turks are desperate. I think they're looking. They want to be the victim right now because they're looking for the help. I think it's only a matter of time before one of them shoots down another. Either the Turks light up a MiG, or
you know what? God help the Turks if they light up a MiG. If they light up a MiG, God help them.
Airspace and light them up. They have the right to defend that airspace, don't they?
I'm not disputing that.
Okay.
I'm just saying God help them if they do.
Right.
And you know that's true.
I'm just saying.
Right.
They're looking to be the victim.
Okay.
There's an incursion. Perhaps there's another one that lights them up on tone.
Here's the other problem that they're going to have.
What?
They've already been lit up on tone, and the guy didn't fire forever. He's just trying to piss him off. Right.
How many times are you going to let someone point a gun at you?
I think that guy should have been shot. Don't get me wrong. Once he had tone, scramble fighters and shoot that asshole down.
I want to make sure.
But at this point, you let it go. They did.
But if it happens a second time, should you let it go again?
No, same thing. Hey, this guy's got tone. Shoot his ass down.
Right.
And then you shoot his ass. But if you don't shoot him down again, guess what? It's kind of like you're giving credence to that, right?
I think, you know what? I think if this guy grabs tone on a Turk and they shut him down immediately, I think even the Russians would respond differently because of force, right? You now show you have a background, you're not going to screw around. Russians understand force.
They do, and the Russians would say, well, he turned on missile lock on him.
Right, exactly. We didn't direct him to do that. He did that on his own. There would be some sort of rigmarole, sidestep, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
At the end of the day, I think that would have kept Russia from any more tomfoolery within Turkish borders.
Absolutely.
Now you've asked for it a second time, and if it happens, and it will happen, and I predict that the Turks will fire. I truly predict that. They're looking, like I said, to be the victim and get all the help they could possibly get. I think you will see a Russian plane goes down, and then the rhetoric changes completely.
But then Russia has a two-front war.
Right. Well,
and they have an argument.
You think Russia cares about a two-front war?
Yeah, I do.
They have planes falling out of the sky.
But they don't have a lot of money.
They have China now to borrow from.
They do. They do. I do think China. I think Russia is trying to be surgical. I don't think Russia wants an all-out war. We certainly don't want an all-out war.
No, we can't afford it.
We wouldn't want one anyways. But what I'm saying is, I think that Russia is going in with a scalpel. They're being very selective and very surgical about the fights that they're picking and what they're getting involved with, politically and tactically. And I don't think they want an all-out shooting war with anybody. I really don't.
I disagree. Well, no, I don't think Russia does. I think the Turks do. I have no argument.
Thank you.
I have no argument for that. Listen, it tells you. Very critical things, and which you're seeing a lot right now. It tells you what we're doing versus what we should be doing. And a lot of former military, high-ranking military officials are coming out and saying the same things that these unnamed or anonymous officials are saying. We're in trouble. We don't have a plan. We should. Our military, this president, knows thing one.
That has been set for these. And look, Russia's moved the big Mi-24, the Hind gunships in.
Yep.
They've moved rocket launchers capable of firing cluster munitions, all sorts of things into the area. Yeah.
Nothing. That's the thing, is there's people.
Yeah.
This all would be your own government's gassing your own people. That's something where I believe there should be a massive response. I really just do. I don't care who these people are, like them, hate them, whatever. The simple fact is innocent women and children being gassed by their own government is not something that I think we should just stand by and watch. But
well, it's not like it's a pay-per-view event. You gotta put it on TV.
Have you seen CNN and all these things? It is a pay-per-view event at this point.
That's a good point.
You see kids being gassed and chlorine in their skin blistering, etc. It has become a pay-per-view event. But if you are not going to go in and do what you say you were going to do, i.e. the red line, then you say nothing at all.
Right.
And you let the quote-unquote international community or whatever other BS he buys into, the United Nations, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying I like those people, but that's what he agrees to and he buys into. You let them handle it. But when you make a statement like that, you don't follow through. This is what happens. When you quasi-back one side, in a war without sides, if you will. I mean, it's a brother and brother, right? It's an internal uprising. When you choose one side and then all of a sudden Syria shows up. Not Syria, ISIS rather. ISIS shows up into Syria. Now you have three sides fighting.
Mm-hmm. It's like a damn dice from Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's a triangle. You just roll that crap. Right? But at the end of the day...
That's what I was talking about.
I know exactly what you were talking about. I was a nerd.
That's great.
I guarantee you Agador knows which die I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
But the simple fact is we've created this mess.
Oh, that's messed up. Why? Because he could feel the difference?
Don't use the glass sword. All right, I'm going to sidetrack with 3 minutes left. Either way, what I'm saying is that this administration caused this mess. They exacerbated this mess.
They did what?
No, exacerbated.
Oh.
Not the other one. Well, they kind of did.
They kind of did. Right.
They did the other thing, too.
Yes.
Oh, man. Do you ever watch the show Community?
Pure, unadulterated communism. No.
It was on NBC, now it's on Netflix. Brilliant television show. Chevy Chase was great and insane in it. There's an episode called The Legend of Fat Neil. It's all about Dungeons and Dragons, and Chevy Chase, from I love Chevy Chase, even though he's a screwball, plays like the evil overlord. It has to be one of the funniest 30 minutes of television you can watch. I challenge everybody to go watch Community, The Legend of Fat Neil. It is brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant. When you talk about Dungeons and Dragons and how some people live that life, and we all know somebody like this guy.
When is this show from?
Oh, this one was from a couple years ago.
Really?
Yeah, but it's all on Netflix right now, and it is an app. You can just Google it, and it pops up. At one point, Chevy Chase is sitting inside this community college on a throne of like toilet paper and paper towels with a cape on, with the dark image behind him, like talking like an evil emperor. It is the funniest freaking thing that I've ever seen in my life. It might be one of the funniest bits of television in modern history. Just check it out. Yeah, but we're screwed in Turkey. It's all falling apart. Hey, folks, we're up against a break. When we come back, we have... Oh, we did mention abroad earlier.
We did mention abroad earlier, and we're going to mention her new information coming out today.
As we were going...
Put the evidence in the car. I think that's a quote from the FBI.
Put the evidence in the car.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network. In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying Kafka was stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on the Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Put down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life, the military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific from me, Tammy Jackson, on the 405media.com.
Who listens to the Andrea Kaye Show? Let's find out as we eavesdrop on listener Roger Johnson in Encinitas.
You know, if our policy is going to be bring any child who comes across the border and says we have to take them in.
Okay, so apparently Roger fell asleep in the middle of my brilliant political tirade, and now he plans to sue me because I put him on the air, sleeping. Obviously, he's a liberal.
Snoring, not an option while listening to the Andrea Kaye Show, Tuesday mornings at 11 on Financial News and Talk.
You know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. the Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
And we're back at the Sackheads Radio Show at SHR Media Network. Last segment was brought to you by Patriot Ordnance Factory.
Ooh.
POF rifles. Not because it was a war segment. Anyways.
Oh, man. Clinton block.
So, speaking of putting the evidence in the car. What? The FBI took communism. Took 4 State Department servers today.
Wow. You want to talk about robbing Peter to pay Paul?
Or just robbing Peter.
Or whatever. I don't actually. It's Hillary. There could be a Peter involved.
I wish I was there for that. Hi, with the FBI. Yeah, you here for a meeting?
Hey guys, what's up?
We're here to seize 4 computers. Which ones? Those 4.
Why?
None of your business.
Yeah, we don't have to tell you. We're the A-team. Dude, that's my favorite nickname for them. Oh, we have the A-team working on it. You're the FBI. You don't have an A-team. You're like a C-squad.
C-squad.
But anywho...
But you digress.
But I digress.
So they took four servers located at the State Department headquarters building. Supposedly they were seized several weeks ago, and they are being checked to determine, for whatever, obviously, how some of that secret material was sent to Clinton's private server by the State Department aides while she was Secretary of State.
There's no wrongdoing here whatsoever.
No. The State Department spokesman, John Kirby, when he was asked questions about it, he deferred to the FBI spokesperson. And she declined to comment on it.
And the State Department, we would like to discuss the servers taken. No servers. No, the FBI said they took 4. No, that didn't happen. No, they actually have pictures. Well, they took them, but they're just cleaning them out. They actually, it was very...
They did what we couldn't do.
They came over, punch was served. It was fine.
It was fine. It's no big deal.
They didn't have a warrant. They didn't seize anything.
Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here.
Fine.
Now, what would happen if the FBI showed up and said, hey, we need these 4 servers, and the State Department turned around and said, contains top secret information, sorry. Can't touch it.
They might have had a warrant.
National security.
How do we know they didn't have a warrant? Nobody's commenting on it.
Would you get that through the FISA court?
No.
Well, I'm just saying. They called Geek Squad. That would be the best.
They are the Geek Squad. What are you talking about?
Geek Squad to go get it.
They are the Geek Squad.
The Geek Squad trucks show up and they.
You did.
You couldn't tell the difference.
You did see the Geek Squad show up.
Oh, man. It carries all. Thank God you guys are here. I have been trying to get all around the barnyard. What are you here for? Oh. Frankenstein mad. What? Listen, I think that this actually shows...
it shows that maybe there's something there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're actually. It seems like they're actually doing a thorough investigation.
You're not going to go in and either get it via warrant or otherwise a State Department server, never mind 4, for an investigation, unless there is something there that even the State Department knows that if they don't give up, it's getting taken anyways.
Yeah. I think it's funny how nobody's commenting on it, but it seems to me, in all seriousness, we give the FBI a hard time, but it seems like they're actually doing a thorough investigation. It seems like.
Right.
With everything they're doing, everything they're seizing, it seems like this Obama, and it's still Obama administration Justice Department, we've got to remember that.
Right.
Is actually doing a thorough investigation.
Right.
And
they have top men on this.
You may have what kind of men?
Top men.
And there's probably so many agents and so many people involved that you really can't cover it up at this point.
No. And there's a lot, somebody
would say something.
I think what happens is the web in this case the worldwide one, is too big, right? There's too much it touches. There's too many places it goes. You can't hide from things.
It's like a priest.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Good night. I'm going to be over here when the lightning bolt comes through the ceiling, son. I hope we have good surge protectors. I really do. Where was I going? Oh, there's so much that emails and the internet touches, and there's so much out there that it can reach, that there are too many people who may have been involved.
And it's funny because there's now another data company, Datto Inc., based out of Connecticut.
What a horrible name.
I know, right? That they were hired to help back up data in May by Platte River Networks, who's the original backup company, and none of this stuff was supposed to be on the cloud, but apparently it made it and it was preserved on the Datto Inc.'s cloud or servers, and so now there's questions being raised. Is the FBI now getting any of the emails that Clinton supposedly deleted?
Well, and I believe part of that story, too, is that had to come down to probably one or two whistleblowers. Somebody who said, wait a minute, this is important. We need to know.
Well, here's the other thing. Fox News is reporting that Dato's employees do not have security clearances. So if there was classified information in her server that they backed up, and they're not saying that's the case, but if there was, is that not going to raise even more issues?
It's huge, right? Because now you have not only the few breaches we think we know about, you now have an entire company of people who may have had access to top secret and or classified information. Now, whether they accessed it or not is really not the argument. Mm-hmm. The fact that the breach was there and the potential to have State Department secrets and or classified documents be seen is absolutely frightening.
And you have potential felony violations here.
Huge. This isn't even like the whole what Petraeus got nailed for. This is totally different. Mishandling of government secrets. This is, I hate to say it, but this is like 25 years to life shit. I mean, it's no joke.
Maybe.
And if she was the bridge that allowed this information to end up on a public cloud, folks, clouds get hacked all the time.
Yeah, and this other company was hacked, I believe. There's also some information that came out from Hillary's emails. Fox had an exclusive on it that shows that Gaddafi's son wanted peace talks.
Yeah.
During the Arab Spring inside Libya. And they wanted to talk peace.
Well, because they knew it was coming.
Right.
So they were looking for an ally.
Or they just wanted to talk peace. I mean, Gaddafi, we sent some A6s over. We killed his son. We threw some bombs at his house. And all he did is talk crazy at the UN. He didn't want to play anymore.
Ding dong, Momar, rise and shine.
But, and ever since Gaddafi's been gone, look, the government collapsed. ISIS has run amok in the area. I mean, this Arab Spring has done major damage, in my opinion. One of the emails says, and the date was of the talks was March 18th, 2011, sent at 7:27 a.m. Eastern Time. It says, quote, "Our contact will arrange a face-to-face meeting with Saif Gaddafi, the son, or a Skype video teleconference." Three trips to the White House that day. Trips.
Right.
And most likely reflected sensitive foreign policy talks. look, that's high-level decisions being made.
Right.
And
the president knew that phone call potential was there. There's no way he didn't.
Probably.
You can't deny this yet again.
So,
yeah, and listen, like you said, anytime the Secretary of State goes 3 times to the president, you have something like this in
important life loss. You also lost Sean Smith. And
complete nonsense. But the other thing that Gaddafi did the last couple of years too is in that region is he was able to get groups to meet together who maybe otherwise wouldn't have. I'm not saying Gaddafi was an angel, but there were people that liked him enough to meet with people they didn't like because of him. He actually had a pretty open line of communication with the Egyptians. Like there was a lot of things that he did. Again, he was a madman, he was a strong man, he ruled with an iron fist. But he was the devil we knew. And we didn't learn, I hate to say it, we didn't learn with Iraq.
And we kind of had control over him.
Yeah, well, we had control over him. We had much more control over him than we ever had with anybody else. Or at least than we had ever had with him, I should say. And we allowed the fall, right? We supported the fall. We gave guns to the fall, if I'm not mistaken.
We didn't.
Well,
this administration supported it.
Right. I mean, we as a nation. So, to sit here and say that we had an opportunity with Gaddafi's oldest son, Saeed, and a potential to sidestep all of that, and it was missed. And now you look where it is today, and Libya today is still the Wild West now, right?
At the highest levels.
At the highest levels. And it was another horrible foreign policy decision either by the president or he left it in hands of the Secretary of State. I don't believe he did.
No, not with 3 visits to the White House.
Yeah, Valerie Jarrett and the president made yet another decision. And like you said, it directly links 17 months later to the death of the 4 Americans in the Benghazi attacks by ISIS.
Moving on with Clinton. So she wants tighter gun control measures.
Yes. Of course she does. Of course she does. She's slipping in the polls.
And she says she wants to get more sensible restraints. She wants to work with Congress. But here's the scary part. I will look at ways as president. So she's willing to try, and if she can't get it done through Congress, if she can't get the laws she wants, sidestep Congress and start using executive action, is my guess, to push her gun control agenda, which is very Obama-esque, which is interesting at a time where she's trying to distance herself from the Obama administration.
Right.
Yet she's saying in gun control she's actually going to do what the Obama administration also likes to do, which is sidestep Congress and use the executive order.
Well, listen, we know Hillary's a politician, right? We know she'll do whatever she can to get her votes. She doesn't care about agenda or policy. It's all about just gaining the power.
It is, and she's trying to gain ground with that liberal wing of the Democratic Party.
She's trying to rally that liberal group to try to get them over to her side, even though they don't like her and they don't trust her. But listen, there are people out there who would vote for Hitler if he said he was going to ban guns. They're just absolute progressive lunatics who are so anti-gun crazy because they know nothing about reality, but they swallow the bull that's fed to them in their classes or in their reading groups or wherever, and they just regurgitate blah, 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 gun control, blah, blah, blah. They just regurgitate it out. And you have somebody like Hillary who shows up, a woman who had a bunch of people die that knew her, oddly, by guns, most of them. And she starts flapping her fat gums about gun control.
She said something else that's interesting. She said, quote, "I'm going to try in every way. I'm going to get those guns out of people's hands."
Yes.
Not out of criminals' hands.
People's.
Not out of the mentally ill's hands.
People.
But out of people's hands.
Yes.
That's very telling.
Yes.
To me.
Exactly. Listen, she knows even if she doesn't get elected, she will have armed protection either in prison or because of Bill's detail for the rest of her life. She doesn't need to worry like the average citizen does.
Right.
So she has no problem with gun control because she's never had to walk through a bad neighborhood at night with her with her receipts from her sales at a small business to go to the safety deposit box and need that money to get there to feed the family. She's never had that experience. She's never been with a loved one and had somebody pull a knife on them or another gun on them and start shooting. She's never lived that life. She's always lived a life of luxury. She's always lived in a bubble of security. Even when Bill was governor, she had the Arkansas State Troopers protecting her, and then the Secret Service, and she will have Secret Service protection until she dies, one way or the other. This is the woman who is screaming about gun control. Also,
and I'm going to get those guns out of people's hands.
She's not in fear of a tyrannous government because she wants to be that tyrannous government.
Yes.
So she fears it not. She's not the average citizen who's worried that, you know what, governments on the border are going too far.
But she does fear it in the hands of the people.
Right. The people oppose a threat to that tyrannous government.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is taking guns out of good people's hands, statistically, they will never, ever, ever keep them out of bad people's hands.
That's not true. Look at the crime. Look at the murder rate in Baltimore.
Exactly. It hasn't skyrocketed.
I'm sorry. Never mind. That's that example. Chicago.
DC.
Chicago.
DC. Chicago. Right. San Francisco.
Yeah, I forgot I said anything.
Right. It doesn't matter. The tyrannous, that mentality is insane. Listen, at the end of the day, anybody who says, I want to take guns from people in this country is selling you something. And it's not something good.
She's saying outright what she wants to do. Look at, nobody listened when Obama said, I want to fundamentally transform America.
Right.
Is nobody going to listen when she says, I'm going to get those guns out of people's hands?
No. Oh, she misspoke. What she meant was criminals' hands. Uh-huh. And I've talked to people about this before when they... anytime I get with the anti-gun nut, I always say... We always have this conversation. And I say, hey, listen, tomorrow we take every gun in the country, every single one, good and bad, throw it in a volcano, all at once.
Because we have one, Hawaii.
Right, we can use it. Every single gun magically disappears from our borders. The only thing we can control. Problem solved, right? Well, yeah. No. In about a week and a half, the cartels are going to turn around and say, hey, screw that cocaine crap. Go buy as many AK-47s as you possibly can and sell it to the same guys we were selling it to cocaine to. And now what do you have? Somalia. You now have kingpins and drug lords running cities more than ever before. The police will be outgunned because there are millions.
But there'd be no murder, Sean. People only use guns to commit murder.
I'm sorry, I forgot. You know, this belief, like Feinstein says, when the bad guy sees that everyone else is disarmed, he'll put his gun down. It is ridiculous.
Insane.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Time and time again, inmates and criminals have been questioned, and the biggest fear they have is
an armed citizen. And it's everywhere.
In a completely unrelated story, the Justice Department is set to release about 6,000 inmates from federal prisons.
Wait, I want to touch on the gun thing one more time with Hillary, because I'm kind of pissed off. It just drives me crazy. So
you could tie it into this story, too.
I know, and we will get there. But quick question. Do you know the most... Well, you know the first answer, but what is the most produced weapon on the face of the planet? what rifle or gun is produced more?
The AK-47?
AK-47. Do you know how many have been made? Estimated, because you can't. There's no way to put a hard number on it because of China.
Billion?
Well, 100 million.
That's close.
Estimated.
Yeah, that's close.
And this was back in 2000. Actually, this is back in 2009. I bet you we're close to 200 million right now. 200 million AK-47s. The average cost.
5 billion.
You're not playing this game right.
Oh.
The average cost of an AK-47 in Africa right now, 79 American dollars. Because there are so many of them in Africa.
How many Cougarans is that?
Half of one, I think.
Okay.
It is not hard for cartels to change their... businesses do it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Shipping companies do it all the time.
Retool the factory.
Exactly. Boom, get it out, get the new one in. And believe it or not, it's, in my opinion, guns would actually be easier to get over this border than drugs are.
Yeah.
Especially for the first couple months, because we would have to change our whole defense for it. Yeah, we look out for guns, but it's drug focused that we do, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times the scent of the guns, or the drugs, are what dogs look for. A lot of the electronics are set for that. You would have to retool everything.
Yeah, but you just have gun-sniffing dogs, Sean. That's easy. What?
It's just cute to think about. So, you know...
Okay, now 6,000 inmates being released.
Speaking of AK-47s...
We've only got 4 minutes.
6,000 inmates were released, or going to be. 6,000.
End of the month.
End of the month. Who are these beautiful young people that are just...
they're nonviolent people.
Chance? Oh, good.
Yeah, and they're only in federal prison, so that's good.
Right, because you get there easily.
Right, so they didn't do anything really wrong. But the new drug sentencing guidelines from the U.S. Sentencing Commission... they were there to reduce penalties for nonviolent drug offenders.
Thank goodness.
So that's good.
Thank God. Yeah, you know what's funny is possession of marijuana, cocaine, or everything usually isn't a federal crime, is it?
No.
You only end up in federal prison
for large amounts.
Trafficking, possession of incredibly large amounts, maybe trying to sneak it across the border. There's some state lines things, but usually trafficking is the biggest one.
Yeah, and about a third of them are going to be turned over to ICE for possible deportation.
So there's the across-the-border one. So now you have 4,000 that, let's say ICE deports all 2,000 of them.
Right.
You still have 4,000, quote-unquote, nonviolent offenders being released onto American streets.
Yes.
By the Department of Justice at the end of the month.
Yes.
Awesome.
Well, the good thing is each case was reviewed by a federal judge in the district in which their case was tried to determine whether it's going to be beneficial to public safety to grant those early releases. And you know, judges nail it every time.
Absolutely. Name me one time a judge missed it.
I can't. They don't. They're very smart.
They are.
They nail it every time.
Oh, man, this is like trusting OJ to walk your wife home. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right. I got a knife for protection. Perfect. Thanks, OJ.
I'll show you my new gloves. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. You have...
These won't fit in a year.
If they don't acquit. If they don't fit, they don't acquit. This is...
No, if they don't fit, you must acquit.
That's it.
Chewbacca defense.
Chewbacca defense. Oh, this is absolutely insanity. Listen, folks, anytime you have the dealing, transportation, and movement of illegal drugs, just because at the time they caught it was nonviolent does not mean that violence did not somehow surround that shipment at one time or another.
Or that they weren't involved in it.
Exactly. But even
How many street-level drug folks do you know that are involved in...
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. But even still, people died at one point or were hurt at one point for those drugs from the time that they were produced to the time they came into the country, the time that they were transported across the lines, and then hit the street. At one time or another, there was violence involving those drugs. I can almost guarantee it. So to say that it is a non-violent crime is like
poppycock.
Whoa. I was going to say Bull Durham.
Poppycock.
Poppycock.
We're dealing with a lot of stuff out here.
What does he need? A live chicken? Great movie.
Candlesticks make a nice gift.
Jose's girlfriend put a curse on his glove, and Nobody knows what to get. What were their names? Millie and what was the other name?
I don't know.
We're dealing with a lot of shit. Such a great movie.
Nuke's eyelids are jammed.
Nuke's eyelids. Nuke can't. What's it? Your left eyelid? Nuke can't breathe out of his left eyelid. We're gonna take a break. When we come back, big discovery in Israel, and it's not a Palestinian. All that and more right here on the Sackheads.
It's not a fat Palestinian.
All that and more on the Sackheads Radio Show, live on the SHR Media Network.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network. In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying Kafka is stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on the Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Put down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life, the military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific for me, Tammy Jackson, on the 405media.com.
Who listens to the Andrea Kaye Show? Let's find out as we eavesdrop on listener Roger Johnson in Encinitas.
You know, if our policy is going to be bring any child who comes across the border and says we have to take them in.
Okay, so apparently Roger fell asleep in the middle of my brilliant political tirade, and now he plans to sue me because I put him on the air, sleeping. Obviously, he's a liberal.
Snoring, not an option while listening to the Andrea Kaye Show, Tuesday mornings at 11 on Financial News and Talk.
You know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here's Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
And welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. Congratulations to everyone listening on Spreaker who got the live show during the break. Congratulations, you heard some wonderful things. To everyone else who didn't get to hear it, go to our Spreaker page and download the show and listen to that 3 minutes. It was pure magic. Or silence. I won't tell. So Israel, it was announced earlier today, had a large discovery, and in my opinion, it's just going to be another reason for this Obama administration to further themselves from Israel. It is being reported that Israel is claiming a large oil reserve that had been located within the Israeli state boundaries. I don't have the exact numbers. I think Clint's been working on it for the last few minutes trying to get the specifics, because this was announced just before we came to air. It actually bumped our last segment, which was going to be Should I Shave My Head or Not? And this was...
And I say no, it's going to do it naturally in another year and a half.
At least. But they're claiming this to be a huge oil reserve. Why is this important to our friends in Israel? Well, they don't have to play nice anymore with people they don't want to. That includes us.
It's gonna take them some time to get it,
right? But the dependency, and that includes us as well. OPEC, all that stuff. If there is enough oil in said reserve, you now have an Israel that is far more independent than they have ever been. What does that do for Israel? That gives them the power to throw the big F-bomb you.
Yeah. They're saying that the strata is 350 meters thick.
I don't know what that translates into.
So on average, the world strata are 20 to 30 meters thick. So this is over 10 times larger than that.
Interesting. So they're 10 times...
So there's a significant quantity there. So they know the oil is there. They know that there's a lot there. But they're going to have to get it, obviously, which is going to take time. But they know they have oil there, and a significant quantity.
Well, and you know what? It probably won't take them a lot of time because
the other problem, though, is where it's located. It's located just over the border from Syria.
Right. So now the Syrians are probably going to try to make claim.
I don't know.
There's a possibility that well's already tapped on the other side. Who owns it? Who doesn't? Etc. It may need protection, but here's the thing: the Israelis don't.
It's definitely going to need protection.
The Israelis don't screw around with stuff like that, and that's kind of funny. But the other thing that Israel has going for it is we still have pretty open trade with Israel.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty easy for our oil-producing companies to go to Israel and be hired by them. And I know they have their own oil companies, etc. AFEC Oil and Gas, I believe, is the Israeli subsidiary of a U.S. company anyhow. But that equipment could be there pretty quick and operational. It may not take as long to start producing as you may think. Now, I don't know their refinery capabilities, but that doesn't, just because they can't refine there right away doesn't mean that they can't send it to a friendly country who will refine.
Right, well, they have to get it first, but yeah, they can establish a refinery. I'm sure we'd help them with that.
I bet you by the end of the year they could probably start producing. I bet you if they call the right companies over here, they could have that equipment over there in 3 or 4 weeks. I know you're going to drill and all that stuff, but you know what? We have.
I don't think they can establish an operation that quick.
Oh, I would disagree with you, especially if you're looking to become independent. Think about how much money Israel will pour into this to get it up and running as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike here, Israel doesn't screw around with stuff they actually need. They need oil. They need to lay off the dependence from America. I hate to say it, but we're no friend to them right now. Government's not. They need, and they don't know when that's going to end. So why not just make it easier on yourself and produce your own? And it may be a couple months. But
well, they're saying experts are actually saying that extracting meaningful quantities is likely some time away.
Well, some time away from my hair loss is 1.5 years.
Right. Right.
But either way, you watch how quickly Israel builds a wall around this. You watch how quickly they start producing. And watch. They will start making oil fast. And depending on who, if they export, depending on who the president is at that time and our relationship with Israel, our gas prices could drop.
Obama, hey, baby. No.
He doesn't want it. No. That would go against, that's what I mean. This will actually push Obama further away because it's oil. We don't want easy access to oil. That would mean the green energy would be falling aside and our gas prices would go down. This president does not want that. If you get a conservative in there, and all of a sudden we're back where we should be with our friends in Israel, then, yeah, we could be looking... And think about it. We finally get that ally in the Middle East we can trust, who will give us a good price, maybe sidestep OPEC. No, we're going to sell direct, no OPEC. Screw that.
But the problem with that site is going to be it's so close to where fighting is happening that defending that could potentially be a major endeavor for them.
It is the Israelis. And I will...
I'm not saying they wouldn't do it.
No, but when it comes to military, I automatically give them the benefit of the doubt.
I'm just saying it's going to be another issue. If they're getting rockets fired over there, it's going to be an issue.
Yeah, always.
Every time they build something, it's destroyed or under attack.
But you know what's funny is, and Israel does this occasionally, they'll show up and drop some ordnance in Syria, and it's the only time they do that people don't complain. It's the weirdest thing. You get a couple finger waggers, but even Assad doesn't say anything when they do it. He knows.
Right.
No, I'm not screwing with them because they'll actually kick our ass.
Except now they've got Russia in there.
I don't think Israel's afraid of Russia. I don't think so. I just don't think so.
I'm just saying, it's a game changer.
It is a game changer. But you know what? In a year and a half, or a little over a year now, we could have a totally different president in the White House. And it could change our whole... Well...
because of,
you never know. You never know.
Yeah. I just signed an executive order and term limits don't apply.
But, that potential is huge. And for our ally, and listen, for the people of Israel, God bless you and good on you. I hope that it makes your life a lot easier.
Absolutely. That's Obama's argument, right? It's unconstitutional to have term limits on the president.
Oh, yeah.
But it's in the Constitution. But it's unconstitutional. Like that pesky Second Amendment.
Have you ever seen me follow the Constitution? No reason I'd start doing it now. Suspended. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes. I want to touch a little. We mentioned earlier. I want to touch a little bit about the Oregon shooting, real quick. More about the reaction. A couple different things.
Obama's reaction.
Obama's reaction was horrific. Again.
Mm-hmm.
There was no outright. This guy never waits for an investigation when it suits his cause. It's amazing to me.
Guns are bad.
Guns are bad. There's another incident. We could have done something and we didn't. And our friends on the right just refused to allow it to happen. Here's a guy this monster that went in and into the community college in Oregon. By the way, gun-free zone. The only security on premise was unarmed. No protection for these individuals. Even though it's this day and age, even though there's all these studies saying that you have to protect schools, you have to protect higher learning centers, government centers, all these different things because, and listen, it's not just this sort of incident, but ISIS and other incidents. We're past the point where this discussion should be had. We know we need to protect these places better.
Mm-hmm.
So, this idiot goes in, and I won't even give him a name, and starts shooting, and tragically, 12 was the final number, 13, I'm sorry. Off the top of my head, I can't recall. People are dead, and scores more wounded. Immediately, everyone came out, it's a conservative gun nut, and he's religious right, blah, 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 blah. Because there are some people that are reporting that he claimed to be a Republican and a conservative.
I find that hard to believe because supposedly he was asking people what their religion was.
Right, and killing the
Christians.
He went in, people put everyone on the floor.
That's a hate crime.
Yes. It's a complete hate crime.
I haven't heard that, though.
No, you haven't heard that at all, have you? As people were laying on the floor with people dead around them, he was ordering people who were Christians to stand up. As they stood up, he killed them. I would submit that by virtue of that he's probably not a conservative. He may have been on a website called 4chan earlier the day before, saying that he was planning this, where people were actually encouraging him to do so. It's a horrific incident. However, my argument immediately goes to if one person was armed in that school.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe one or two people died because his first attack came from outside. He shot a teacher in the head and then came into the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
That teacher may have still died. However, the response would have been much quicker, and loss of life could have been limited. This guy was not combat trained. I talk about this all the time when you talk about active shooter. Well, he's already shooting, but he's not combat trained. You don't even know if he has any sort of ability outside of shooting people in a locked room. You have one person with a weapon, as we've seen time and again, who confronts him, and he could have imploded. Immediately committed suicide, which is how he died, a coward's death once again. But you bring that up, and people immediately freak out. I heard a great argument with Liberal Jake the other day about this. We were talking about guns in schools, and he said, I don't think teachers should be armed. And I said, why? And he essentially said, but because it becomes a distraction for them. I mean, literally, they can't even hug a student that did well now, just because of lawsuits and craziness. Now they won't be able to even touch a student because they have to worry about weapon retention and safety.
Okay.
But he conceded, or he had an alternate plan. Anyone who doesn't work in that classroom, administrators, stuff like that, to be armed, absolutely fine with. His argument is that the gun in a classroom could be a distraction from education.
Not if it's concealed.
But you could argue about the caveat, but even liberal Jake says, but they still should be in a school somewhere for that situation.
Right.
So there is a middle ground.
But they can't be locked up somewhere because there's...
No.
Somebody should have them. Or you should have a team or a group or, hey...
Right, exactly.
Right.
Plenty of schools have administrators who never see a classroom, right? They work in offices, all that. Exactly. You have 4 or 5 people in that school or each building trained to be essentially an active shooter team.
Yeah.
Hey, we get, the firearm goes off, whatever, we rally at this point, we move and go. That's our job. We don't teach. I don't care if it's a janitor, the secretary at the front desk, the vice principal, and whoever. Pick one. But it shows that you can still have the argument about arming schools to defend themselves and get around the whole gun in the classroom conversation. I won't discount that even concealed, the students know. Now, after about a month and a half...
But you make a teacher's choice. Well, so the students shouldn't know who's armed and who shouldn't.
If you're in a school district and they're like, hey, teachers are now armed or allowed to be armed after they go through training experience, whatever, there will be a month and a half of the off factor. Teacher, you carrying your gun today? Blah, blah, and then it'll go away.
And not only that, but here's the thing. That's a question that we don't answer. And that's a school policy. Teachers shall not answer questions about whether they're armed or not.
Right.
And there's cause for disciplinary action if they do. It takes that whole argument off the table.
And
if a gun is properly concealed, it's not going to be a distraction in the classroom. And so I would support schools making those types of policies, and you don't know who's armed and who's not armed. If a teacher doesn't want to carry a gun, then they shouldn't carry a gun. Because they're not going to be able to employ it effectively. You're not going to force somebody to do that.
Right. Well, and again, what I said was, and the whole point of it is, even with liberal Jake, and a lot of liberals out there, you can have the conversation. And find a way to make students safer. And that he agreed. Students need to be safer. Absolutely. We need to find a way to prevent this from happening. It is not a huge phenomenon like the government likes to admit it is. It's actually, the number of shootings are going down. There's just more press about it now than there ever has been.
Right.
Listen, if you have any, on your phone, if you have any news stations, apps, anytime a school goes on lockdown, you get the app, you get the ring. Anytime a report of a shooter within blocks of a school or a potential armed suspect within blocks of a school, the school goes into lockdown, and rightfully so. We have blown this out of proportion to a point. Not the education of it, but the reaction to it. This leads people to believe statistics that are completely false. Completely false. You ask the average person, they think the amount of gun violence is through the roof now as it was 15 years ago. It's not. It's still going down.
And why are we having the argument about gun violence? Why are we not having the argument about violence, period? In Philadelphia, there was that student that took a knife to school and was stabbing, slashing classmates.
Yeah, what was it, 17, 18 he slashed or something like that?
Something like that. I don't remember the exact number.
And look at China. A couple years ago, there was the Islamists. They, killed 25, 30 people and slashed like 25 more?
All-edged weapon attacks.
All-edged weapon attacks. Gas, chemicals. Say it all the time, folks. Bad people will find a way to do bad things and hurt good people.
Yes.
Because that's
and
what
the good people
psychopaths do.
And the good people have to have a means to quickly stop them.
Right.
And the one neutralizer
is a weapon.
Is a gun.
Yep. You have a gun on your hip.
It takes away the strength factor. It takes away
the equalizer.
Absolutely. It's a great equalizer. Yep, it absolutely is.
And I can tell you right now, I would feel so much better if I knew that my son's school had armed administrators, somebody. Because I'll tell you right now, I've done the walk at my son's school. It is not at all built for security. It is not at all built for safety. And I don't want them to be in penitentiaries, don't get me wrong. But it's built horribly
for
that sort of situation. And as a parent, I've observed that. I've gone by in the middle of the afternoon, and all the front gates are unlocked and open. All the doors to the classrooms are open to the outside. You don't need to check in. Like, all these different things. It could be this kid who's targeting Christians at a school in Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a member of ISIS. It could be one of the parents of that student, angry student.
Could be anybody.
Could be anybody. But the other thing you could do at a lot of these schools is drive up with a truck bomb. I mean, the potential's there. But like you said, you need to have the equalizer. People need to know that you can't go to any higher education or school in this country and pull this crap, or you're going to be dropped.
I don't understand how this keeps happening because they're gun-free zones.
Right, there's a sign all over the place.
Right.
And we know when there's a sign that says gun-free zones, then this shouldn't happen.
No, because it's illegal to have a gun there.
Just like
it's not really illegal to murder.
Oh, right.
Oh, and never mind. For that argument, just fell apart.
Well, and you look at West Sacramento, California. They have signs up that the places are gang-free zones, but they still have gang violence problems.
Don't. How?
I don't know.
They put a sign up.
Exactly. That's
how does this happen?
Oh well,
no trespass signs. When those are up, nobody ever trespasses.
No loitering. In front of a store. Have you ever seen it?
Right. No left turn.
Every store in this country has a sign that says no loitering. Every convenience store, 7-Eleven.
No left turn.
Right.
People aren't going to turn left there.
Ever.
Right.
Ever.
It's a red light. You got to stop. Nobody's going to run it.
Right. Let's see. Do not use this as a weapon. How many times have you seen that on certain things? Heck, half the stuff we have in here is not designed to be used as a weapon. We use them as weapons all the time.
Absolutely. That's a propane torch. It's a lightsaber.
T-Bone modified it a little bit.
It's a lightsaber.
It's a lightsaber now. But no, seriously, people need to realize you can have all the signs. You can sit in a little kumbaya circle all you want. You could talk about just great feelings and great emotions. It goes back to what we said about socialism earlier. In theory, it is amazing, right?
Right.
Because if you think about the theory of socialism, it's the ideal world. Everybody works just as hard as one another, and everybody has everything they kind of need to survive, and no bad things happen.
Ever.
I mean, literally, unicorn farts and happiness.
And yes, and it's cotton candy smelling.
Exactly. Everything. Well, that's, of course, what else do unicorns fart?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
Candy corn smelling this time of year?
But reality is, it only takes one asshole to offset that entire structure. One person.
Right, and there was 2 people in this room.
One of us would destroy that in a minute.
Right. And there's 2 assholes. We're sitting at 100% asshole rating right now.
But you're talking about worldwide, this idea of the perfect society, it only takes one person to step away and decide, I don't want to do this anymore, which mankind has such free will in such a way that you will always have a nonconformist. It doesn't matter what type of government, whatever, you'll always have that nonconformist.
But then you identify them.
That's why it blows. That's why you identify them. It blows socialism out of the water. Well, the same thing with gun safety, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gun safety, gun control, whatever you want to call it. Yes, in the perfect world, when we throw all the guns in the volcano.
Disarmament.
Right.
But you still have people that are going to home make guns.
Yes, but that's not important, Clint.
But why would they? Because it's illegal.
We have laws against it.
That's true. We have laws against drugs, too. How'd that work out for us?
Perfect. I haven't seen a drug yet.
Right. I don't see anybody that's been using drugs, ever.
At all.
Ever.
At all. We did not have a president that snorted cocaine.
No, because it was illegal.
It is totally illegal for him to be in the Choom wagon.
Right. You know what? We have never had a murder. It's all propaganda.
It's all propaganda. People have never been murdered that have been really close to the Clintons.
Because it's illegal.
It's illegal. We have laws against that sort of thing.
Right.
I mean, look at how drunk driving, once we passed the drunk driving law, that thing went through the floor.
Right.
We never hear about drunk driving anymore.
Never.
Nobody ever dies from it.
Never.
I mean, listen, we can go on about this, how laws and signs fix things.
Nobody ever speeds.
I didn't speed on the way over here today.
That's why I'm saying that.
I know. I certainly didn't speed because that would be against the law, and that's crazy.
Right.
35 on a 2-lane.
That's crazy.
That's just batshit crazy right there. I got places to be, kids. I mean, I'm all for the Autobahn in our roads. You crash, we just plow you off to the side and keep going. But
highway cops will be here soon.
Yeah. Hey, don't worry. AAA with a gun showing up anytime now. We'll get you out of there. It's cute. Oh, I'm going to get a couple angry phone calls. But seriously, we have to realize that it's actions of good people that stop bad people, not signs and laws. It's a tremendous tragedy, and it's a town that's going to be recovering for a long time, and it's horrible, but this is the actions of a madman, not the actions of a gun. His parents came out and blamed the gun, not him. Well, of course they did. Because if you blame him, then you blame them in some way. They raised him.
Right.
There were friends that, you have some friends coming out saying, yeah, something was definitely wrong with him. You have other friends coming out saying, no, he was perfectly fine. Psychopaths have a tendency to be different people around different people. That's just what they do. That's how they hide it for a long time until they're ready to commit a horrible act like that.
And we've said this before. The guns that we have may be broken because...
Horrible, lazy gun I own.
Yeah. It's
hasn't shot anyone.
Never.
And I have 2 freeloading guns specifically that I know of. And I'll tell you what, those bastards are not earning their keep.
Not right.
I bought them outright, and they ain't done nothing.
You mean they've never just jumped off the table and gone after the pizza guy?
No. Like a rabid dog?
Right. Weird.
Bang, 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 bang. Reload me. Here you go. Bang, 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 bang.
Wait, that's the pizza guy.
What a great show that would be. Like a cartoon with a guy and his gun that's alive. And just the whole show is just him keeping his gun out of hijinks.
Right.
Can we do a short
because that's what gun owners do.
That's exactly what the left thinks happens.
Yes.
Can we do it? Artist, there has to be a cartoon artist out there. Please make this happen. Please, I will give you credit for this one. Oh man, it's classic. I have not on a down note, but thoughts and prayers with the people of South Carolina right now, and our folks on the East Coast who are just in this horrific floods, lives lost, homes and lives destroyed, and wish them a speedy recovery. We've seen this in this country before. We'll see it again. There's a couple people in California who will take the water if you guys don't need it. Wish
what are you talking about? California's levees are in worse shape than New Orleans was.
But it's fine because we don't have any water.
Forgot about that.
And to the families of the victims of the ship sinking through Hurricane Joaquin last week as well, 33 people died, 4 Polish, the rest Americans, in what's turned out to be a very, very strange investigation. It's a weird one, but thoughts and prayers to the family.
That ship lost power.
They think it lost power. They
thought they had some flooding contained.
It was their the ship's last run before it was going to be completely retrofitted and upgraded. The 4 Polish citizens that were on it were hired by an engine company to begin the retrofit while they were underway. Just a lot of weird things for a ship at that point of its career to be allowed to go into a hurricane. But I'm not an investigator. I don't want to jump to anything, but it's kind of odd. If you ask me, but more importantly, thoughts and prayers of the victims of the family, because it looks like everybody involved is deceased. The Coast Guard has ended their search.
And the search for survivors.
Yeah. And now it's in the investigation phase. So very, very, very strange set of incidents. Coming up next week, Sackhead Clint. And folks, I can't even believe he agreed to do this, but it's amazing.
I don't know how I got roped into it.
But what's important is you have a week to practice.
I do.
That should be plenty of time.
I've never done it before.
No, but all the things that you need for should be. The llama might be held up.
I don't know. No, we got it.
Oh, we did get it?
Yes.
Okay. The llama will be here. We are going to probably stream live video if we're ready for it to go.
Yeah.
If we're ready for the whole trip to go, we may do live video. So make sure you check us out.
We may be live from another location.
Right.
Undisclosed.
Maybe over a border somewhere. That's all I'm saying.
You said too much already.
I know. So that's going to be October 14th. And the act that he's going to do is... Oh, crap. We're out of time. Oh. All right. Well, hey, folks. It's been a great show. We appreciate you guys joining us. we will be back next week as we just sit here on the Sackheads Radio Show.
I have the tassels.
Sweet. For Sackhead Clint, this is Sackhead Sean, wishing you a great night.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network. In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying Kafka was stupid.